Alright guys, I'm not sure how interesting I'll be able to make this week's video. It's going to be a lot of wrenching. We got to glue these tires on. I got to finish wiring up my truck, make sure the speed control works. I assume it does. Figuring out this M17 radio is super complex compared to anything Spectrum. So I have to figure out, get that bound. We do have the RC10 bound on it. And yes, it's got a lot of menus you got to go through. I am not going to do a video on that because that thing is way smarter than me. We did pick up some Accelerate RC neon wire. It matches our theme we got going on here. I did pick up a Hoppy Wing. I think it's the older style. I'm not sure what. I think they have another one that came out after this. Yes, the G3R. I think there's a new one out after this, but this will be plenty of motor for us. This is what our local hobby shop at Anderson RC had in stock, and that's what we're going to run. We're not trying to break any records or even win the race. We just want to compete and or be there and participate. It's going to be a really cool show. We're going to have probably 6 or 8 cars in the car show itself. Of course, what we're racing, my truck, Eric's truck, RC10. We're going to take the old Yokomo, or I mean not the Yokomo, but the Schumacher. I haven't got a Yokomo yet. And I believe we're going to take a Clodbuster that's built that we painted years ago. And Chris is bringing his A&L car, so we're going to have plenty of cars. We're going to have 6 or 8 cars at least in the parade of cars. All right, we're going to hop back on once we get a few things wired up here. We got to finish up Eric's truck. We got to rebuild shocks and put limiters in them. We got all kinds of stuff to do. So, all right, welcome back. It's day 2. I didn't record soldering wires last night, but we got the T2 all wired up. I just sat here and fiddled with this radio for 5 minutes just to change the name. This thing is definitely beyond my skill level. So we're going to attempt to get this thing bound up. And I did not remember the binding procedure, but we're going to try it anyway. Battery's not charged, just on storage mode. It should have enough voltage to at least bind the radio. Now, what is the binding process? Alright guys, I don't know how I did it, but I figured it out. We got full throttle. We got full steering. Obviously, got to glue these tires up because they're starting to blow off the wheels. And this battery's in storage mode, so it's not even charged. Yeah. Figured it out somehow. I don't know what I did, but it works. So we got the T2 and we have the RC10 buggy, both bound, powered up. Recalibrated the speed controller, put it back into the factory setting. So now we have full throttle. So sorry I skipped over a lot of that, but that was sitting here watching me fiddle for 30 minutes is not very interesting either. So we're going to move on. We're going to pull these tires off, get them cleaned up and glued up, and then we got to build shocks for Eric's truck. Chris brought us a set of threaded Team shock bodies, and besides the fact that they're threaded, they're just going to look so much cooler on his truck. I like the cool little chimes it makes too. Makes me feel professional. All right, I do not have a trick to gluing tires. I'm terrible at it. I can make it work. I can make it hold. But I can't consistently make them pretty. But, because sometimes I go more for looks. That's why I haven't glued them yet, because it looks better without them glued. Because I have glue all over it, all over me. I'm going to try to bounce back some this weekend and also work on the outside room we're doing, or the outer area. I've got a couple more trim pieces. I don't have a tabletop for that cabinet yet. I need something to strap a camera mount to. And it's freezing. It's above freezing out there, but it's about, I think I just checked a little while ago, it's like 38 degrees indoors, and that's not fun to work in. We got a little space heater in our little room here, courtesy of Mr. Chris. That's helped out a lot. I think we're going to suffer one more winter without heat in the garage, and then we may look into some sort of wood stove, a pellet stove, something. I don't want to go electric just because of utility bills. All right, I've heard several different procedures that people do. I've heard people just take them right out of the pack and put them on the truck and glue them up, or put them on your wheels and glue them up. Hopefully I'm not messing up, but I'm going to clean them with alcohol. And hopefully that works. No, I don't have any bands either. They make those little bands for your tires. Or you could use a bigger rubber band. We're doing this kind of down and dirty. We're just going to kind of put it together and hope it stays together. This glue's a little on the thick side. It might be a little old, or it's cold. Work it around. Yeah, one of them tire bands will come in handy right now. I think if we use tape too. We got battery strapping tape. You never know. I was not a professional off-road racer. Totally prepared for this. Yeah. Like so. We're going to do just the back sides so I don't make a mess or less of a mess. And then once that sets up for a while, we'll repeat the process on the front side. All right, guys, we got the back side glued. Let them dry so we don't get our hands in it. So far, they look good. We'll do a little multitasking here. Hopefully that don't fall. And go ahead and start on Eric's truck. I've got to check this video out. We do have a paint video on this. I do have to unwire the motor and run a little shrink wrap around them because they're traveling through the shock tower, and I'm afraid they're going to get they run a risk of getting a little slice and dice right there. So we're going to get that and maybe round those edges off, and then I'm going to shrink wrap the 3 motor wires together, at least about 1 inch of it where it travels through the shock tower, just because they're not quite long enough to go over and look pretty, and going around the outside doesn't look good to me. So we're going to continue with our setup, but we're going to have to make some arrangements to make sure that don't wear through the wires. The way the battery is situated in this truck, we couldn't do in the T2 because the T2 has the chassis kick-ups on them. I think this is probably going to be a better performing truck just from the weight situation, the way it's laid out. No real plan today. I was going to run the Grasshopper, but I'm running out of time to get trucks ready for the race. We'll try maybe possibly to paint something before the race for a Wednesday night video. All right. Super cool shock towers. Got the fancy fluted design layered there, but those edges are super sharp. Super sharp, not super sharp. So I'm going to take a little file or a Dremel tool really slow and just round these edges off, and we'll throw that back in. All right, really won't be able to see a whole lot of difference there, but we took a little rat tail file and just slightly rounded these edges off just to soften them. Anytime you're sanding or grinding on carbon, definitely wear some protection. Do it well ventilated. You don't want to be breathing carbon dust. That's bad stuff. We got some Harbor Freight sorted shrink wrap, and I'm not sure. This is, I believe this is 3/8. Yeah, 3/8, and we'll cut about an inch length, and we'll just send all 3 wires through it. Hopefully the sensor wire will be safe. It is kind of a noodly sensor wire, so hopefully we might be able to zip tie it to the motor wires once we get it in there. So we're just going to throw the shock tower back on, and then reverse the procedure. I know it's a terrible camera angle, but we're not worried about production today. We're just making a video. Alright, there's what we have now. I will shrink this, but once we get the motor wires installed. But that should offer some protection, at least an extra layer, and it'll hold the wires together and neaten it up a little bit. So, yeah, hopefully that is the solution to a potential problem that we haven't run into yet, but kind of foreseen it coming. Now, the fingers of steel. It's a little warm. Don't recommend having your hand this close to it. Solder at your own risk. All right. I feel better about that. And then our handy dandy little lighter here. We're not going to show you the open flames. I don't think YouTube likes that much, so we'll be right back after these messages. All right, guys, here we go. We got it neatened up a little bit. I also put one on the sensor wire and ended up running it through the center hole of the shock tower. It's got room to move, but we didn't want to have to squish it in there with those with 3 motor wires. So everything is freely moving now. Extra protection, so I feel a little bit better about that setup. I'm going to set my battery in here and see, make sure we got enough wire length to put the to take the Deans off and run the other style here. It's going to be close. I may have cut too much off of the speed controller. So I don't want to stretch it. I could move the speed controller slightly forward. No, I think we're just going to make an adapter. That's just too much. I don't want to resolder the speed controller and take it back out just to add a 1/4 inch of length. We're going old school. We're leaving it Deans. Alright, now it's time for everybody's favorite, shock rebuilding. Not a big fan of it myself. I did go through the trouble of buying my own shock tool. It definitely comes in handy. We were building so many kits here lately that it didn't make any sense not to buy the right tools. Alright, instead of risking tearing the inners out of this shock body, since they're still brand new and we have 2 more 10Ts to build, we're going to leave these together. And I did pick up a couple of rebuild kits. These are brand new rebuild kits. I picked these up when I got that team card the other day on Marketplace, and we were going to rebuild those shocks whenever we clean that car up. But since we got them, we got brand new parts. We'll put them in the new shock bodies, and that will save us a lot of headache from trying to reuse what's already in there. Because generally, once you put it in there, you're going to have a hard time getting it out without damaging an O-ring or something. So we're going to go all new. All right, retainer, washer, O-ring, spacer, O-ring, washer. And I've got some green slime over here somewhere. I like to put a little green slime on these O-rings on their way in. Helps ease the assembly. Of course, deburr your piston or your pistons and all these little retainers before you just go throwing them together. All right, simple as that. There's one. We're going to reuse the pistons that were already on it. They're still brand new. But while we're at it, we did need to add that retainer, somewhat limiter. We picked up some hack fab limiters. These are for a slash. They're 3mm. They'll fit over the shock shaft, no problem. It don't matter if they're a little bit rattly because they're going to be in the oil. So we're going to do our best guesstimation and use the 6mm. Just by my eyeball, I believe that's going to be enough. Hopefully it's not too much. But if it is, we'll just take it back apart and we'll run the smaller ones. All right, they fit over there really nice. They're all color-coded. Blue is 6, 3 is green, 1.5, and 12. We're not going to need 12s. We're not building a mud boss. All right, I'm just guessing at the proper shock oil. We're going to go 30 weight, kind of generic. It's going to be cold next week. That building is not, it's heated, I think, but it's not super warm in there. So I imagine a heavier shock oil would be like running syrup in your shocks. All right, fun. Getting air bubbles out. All right, guys, I'm going to let this one do its thing on its own while we do the other shock and repeat the same process 3 more times. All right, we got all the shocks wrapped up. The guesstimation on the 6mm in the rear was just about perfect. We're right on the edge, and it's not going to go any further as far as the drive cups go. And besides that, it looks so much better. The new re-release shock build kits worked perfect in these original shocks. The front shocks are the same length, I think, but the well, they are the shock collar, the spring adjustment collar here. It's maxed out, and we still had gap in the spring. So I ended up using the same 6mm in the front to shorten the front shocks up a little bit. We're still going to be a pretty level ride height. I need to double check with tires on it. But it took up some of the slack. Being a little bit lower is going to help the truck anyways because we're going to be in a high bite situation. This is just my guesstimation. I'm not an expert by any means. My setups are usually just however I feel when I'm driving it. Kind of the seat of the pants type thing. But if we need to lower the back a little bit more, we can. If we need to raise the front, we can. We still have holes in these J-Concept shock towers that will allow us to go up and down a little bit and change geometry a little bit more in and out. But it feels really good. It was a pain in the butt to get these shocks bled out without the bleeder cap and without a bladder in them, but we got them pretty good. There's a little bit of squish in the front at full. So yeah, we're going to leave that alone. Next on the agenda, we got to tape the front side of our tires up and glue them. And I'm going to power this thing up with a little 2-cell just to get it powered up and make sure everything works. And I've never messed with a Reedy black box. We've got the program box somewhere in that box right there. And we're going to leave it in blinky mode. I think that's the rule. It's got to be stock. So, yeah. Let's power this thing up and see if we can make it work. All right, we got the rugged in Eric's. It's a little bit easier to use. I don't like the scrolly thing. I missed the actual physical roller. Right. I'm not going to make you suffer through all this either. This touchscreen is driving me nuts. And bind. We got... Wow, that servo is super fast. Look at this. Wow. All right there, Eric. You're going to be Mr. Pre-station driver there. Now we got to go through the setup procedure on the speed controller. We got power. Okay. Installation. Powering on. Turn on the power button. Turn off. All right. I'm going to read some instructions and we'll be right back. All right, guys. I'm at a loss. I can't get this speed controller to go into calibration mode. Simple instructions. You plug a charged battery in. You hold the power button until it turns green and it makes a chime. The only thing I'm getting is a red flashing light. And I can't find anything in the instructions that explains what a red flashing light means. If I turn it on, I get a red and a green flashing, which could indicate the zero timing blinky mode. I thought it was supposed to go, because the default setting is green or is zero timing. Return transmitter neutral, and the ESC will beep, indicating that the calibration process was successful. A green LED will either blink, zero timing default setting, or remain solid depending on the activation of timing settings. Okay, we got a red and green blinking, and I can't get it to beep or make any noises. It's not making any sounds. So I don't know. I've tried reversing this the throttle. I've tried changing the frame rates back and forth. I went back and forth with the throttle reverse. Everything set at 0. This is a brand new radio. I'm not understanding why I'm not getting the chimes or any of the I mean, it's a one button setup. It can't be that difficult. So I'm not sure what we're going on here. It's almost like it's in LiPo protection, but the battery was at like 8.3 volts. It shouldn't be in LiPo protection at 8.3. It wasn't fully charged, but it was almost charged. So, and then the troubleshooting doesn't tell you anything. It just talks about poor speed performance, stuttering, no motor, but servo power. I got that. No radio signal. All right, guys, we're back, and I got good news to report. I slept on it, cut my hair off so I'd have some more bandwidth in my brain there, and I'm an idiot. It turns out it was the sensor wire. I threw everything at it, changed every setting on the radio, tried to change the voltage cutoff because one of the suggestions, I did put a feeler out on RC10 Talk on Facebook. One of the suggestions was maybe this battery wasn't throwing out enough voltage. Well, it's not what we're going to run, but I always set stuff up with these little batteries because they're easy to handle. 8.4 should be 8.4. Turns out I was a problem. I woke up this morning and I was thinking, well, one of the causes of that flashing was bad sensor. Well, one of the suggestions on the post was sensor board, sensor wire. I was like, that makes sense. So I come out this morning, put this old doo-doo beat up leftover sensor wire, made sure it's plugged in correctly, and boom, turn it on, it works. So just a process of elimination, I decided to put the nicer version that came with the motor and the speed controller, because all this is brand new. Made sure it was plugged in correctly, and guess what? Boom, it works. So no bad mouthing Reedy this morning. Everything works as expected, even with the tiny battery. Got a chime. We're in blinky mode. We don't have a pinion gear on the truck. Everything works, including that crazy fast steering. So yeah, double checked everything, guys. I triple checked everything but the sensor wire, and turns out it was a simple fix of just, I must have had it plugged in backwards or not all the way plugged into the speed controller. something. So now we got to install everything back, make it look pretty, and we'll be ready for next week. So if any of y'all going to that race in Wilson, the Tamiya World Cup thing, we will be there with a bunch of trucks and cars. And, well, at least until Wednesday, we'll see you next time, and appreciate it. Hit that like, subscribe button, double check your stuff, and we'll see you then. Thanks.